I want to touch on, your true authentic self, right? And it's going to tie into purpose because, we had a great meeting today in our group, and the concept of purpose came up, and we had a lot of good insight in that. And I think it's something that men get often confused with. They confuse their purpose with the type of job they're doing, their career, their family, whatever it is, right?
Definitely.
And before we dive into purpose, there's this freedom, and I want to try and express and be as articulate as possible into being what you should see as your true authentic self, right? Yeah. And it's being who you are, right? And here again, we're not saying being who you are. It's not the confusion of, okay, so I must just do whatever I want. No. You're still doing everything within love and kindness. Mm-hmm. Everything you do, I don't care who you are, should be done with love and kindness, right? You should always try and be loving and kind to everybody. That should be a standard. Yeah. But you should be yourself, and you should never apologize for it. You should never have to try and adapt who you are for anyone else. Right, as long as that true authentic self is the best version of you. Right? Yeah. You can't. I heard another podcaster make this argument saying, "Oh well, if I'm just my true authentic self, what if I'm a rapist? Okay, but is that doing it in love and kindness? No, you're doing." And I thought it was a weird comment to me. Like that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard someone say. Is no, love and kindness. Everything I do, and I think we embody this. I try to treat everybody as kindly as I can, regardless of what the situation is, of how I feel. Put a smile on my face. Yeah. Try and be that person every single day.
Yeah, because that's hard for me sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Not every day is the same. Yeah, there's days where I'm frustrated. There's days when I'm angry. There's days when I'm going through things.
But if I'm hangry, so that's usually a bad spot.
That happens too, right? But I try my best not to. It's no one else's. It's not their account. I'm accountable for how I feel, right? And it's not on anyone else. So you try and go out and be the best version of yourself, which, funny enough, lines into the concept of purpose. Yeah. Right? Because purpose. What is purpose? Purpose, as we discussed today, is purpose could be perceived from people to be many different things. My purpose is to, in your cases, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. No, that's just a thing you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's not your purpose. I feel, and this is again, I think we're going to coin this, and I think you'll agree with me. Your true purpose is to be the best version of yourself at every present moment that you can.
Yeah, for sure.
What else is there?
Yeah, we talked about this extensively at our meeting, in our group this morning, that, I think men, at least men, like we always talk towards men, right? So I think this is also applicable for both sides, but more for men. But we try to make our purpose an object almost, right? Like where you use baseball as the analogy. I'm going to be a professional baseball player, and when that didn't work out, what is my purpose, right? And so we try to obtain purpose like it's an object, and it's not. It's a feeling, right? And it's what I would think. Right now, both of us feel very strong that we're living in our purpose.
Yes.
Right. And I didn't understand this for the longest time, and we used it with a guy that we had with us today, Adam. Adam gets a lot of shout outs on our podcast, but he's really bought into us. So we love you, Adam. He said it really well. He's like, I feel it.
Yes.
He literally feels this version of himself as the best he's been.
Yeah.
And so it's identified as a feeling.
And that's so important.
Right. So we're chasing so many men, and I was guilty of this. You probably were at some point. You are chasing purpose like it's an object that you can actually obtain and that you can actually grab it, but your purpose will change. It evolves, it develops, but it's ultimately a feeling.
Well, break it down. How many times in your life have you say to yourself is, if I do this, or I attain this, or I make this much money, or I buy that car, or I do this, I'll be fulfilled, right? Because part of the idea,
my purpose.
I reached a purpose or the purpose, and then, and you kind of it's always this goal set or this object that I have to attain, and.
Well, you get there, and you realize that's not what I was expecting.
That's not it, right? Because it doesn't stop there. It's an ongoing thing, and I think for me is what I found, and I think you can resonate this, and it's definitely resonated through the men that we're helping, is when you are consistently, actively following all the steps to be the best version of yourself, right? We talk about, mind, body, spirit, trying to attain abundance. The pillars of that is health, right? Business, purpose, relationships, right? Not in that order. The order changes. It's going to consistently change depending on where you have to put your energy, but you want to have a balance. You're always balancing those all together. And when you balance them, what I found personally, and I think you found that too, is you become a version of yourself, right? And that version smiles more, is happier, the sky is bluer, and that energy you put out starts resonating because you speak differently. You don't speak the same way.
Right.
I mean, I can't think of any time that you said, like, we don't speak negatively ever. Because there's no purpose to it. It doesn't bring me anything. And it's not as if we're overly positive. We're very well aware of what the pros and cons of life are, right? What things can happen. But the outlook is that as long as I'm applying myself and being the best version I could possibly be, no matter what happens, I would have attained a level of energy and a feeling that gives me fulfillment, which is a version of purpose. That is what you're looking for, that fulfillment in life.
Absolutely.
And I've had personal experiences where my wife has told me the changes I've made and what impact it's had to her life. Friends, I've got you as one of my best friends, and we sit down, and just the way we interact with each other, always trying to support. There's always this consistent. We have camaraderie in regards to how we interact, but everything is about support. Everything is about lifting each other up, and it resonates. It becomes an energy, this energy that you put out to the world, and then what happens is that energy starts returning the same energy.
It's very
right. Because I'm a very big believer that if you put out negative energy, you return negative energy.
Have you seen the series 1883? Yeah. So there's I'm watching it. What's the guy's name? The actor, the dad. He's the singer too.
I know you're talking about us cutting out.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
They go into a town with his daughter. So Faith Hill and their daughter go into the town, and she had just, I don't want to do any spoilers, she just been through something significant, and the daughter's upset, and this guy in the town looks at her like, because he hasn't seen a pretty woman, and she basically pulls a gun on him and was like, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you. So Tim McGraw comes up, saves the day. Later on, he goes up to his daughter and says, I just want you to know that you go looking for a fight, you're going to find a fight.
It's going to find you.
It's going to find you. And of course, she gives him, I didn't find the fight. It was, you have to watch the show to get the whole grasp. But it's the point that you go looking for the energy, you're going to find the energy. So if you find yourself in that agitated state, and when we talk about negativity, one thing that's very subtle that people don't always catch, that I caught from the military, and I pay attention to people saying to me, hey, how are you? Oh, just living the dream, man. Extremely negative connotation. Extremely negative, right? When people in military was always guilty of it. When we were deployed, somebody would be like, hey, what's up? How are you? Oh, just living the dream. Meaning I'm fucking miserable. And if you pay attention to people around, I hear it often still. And sometimes it's veterans, but it's energy. In the end, it's energy, right? And if they're implying to you, and I've had this conversation with Sam, I've had conversations with you and other people, no worries versus all good. I'm living the dream versus I'm great, how are you?
And it carries power. I'll find the study again. It's a super interesting study. It was scientists basically took bodies of water, right? So little petri dish, and
I do what you're
they pump in negative words, right? Real. And you see the jagged edges, right? So that energy of those words, and we don't. It sounds like hoo-ha, right? That doesn't mean what I say. It's not what I mean, right? But words have context, and how your body perceives those things is you may not realize, but your subconscious, your unconscious mind, it hears those words, right? Like, and I'm going to name a couple of things, right? So the word diet, right? It doesn't sound like much, right? But what a negative word that runs through people, and we generally, especially in speech, and this is what NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is. We'll have Eileen on again, and she'll explain more about how it actually works. But your brain doesn't know the difference, right? So it's, if you watch a horror movie, right, that has tons of violence and death in, the reaction to your unconscious, subconscious mind and your nervous system, right, in regards to fear, flight or flight response, right, is exactly the same as if you were in the real situation. So there is something to be said for, if you watch violence on TV, you go, oh no, but it's on TV, right? But your brain, your body, your unconscious mind, your conscious mind knows it's a TV show, so real. Your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference.
I can relate to that because I hate horror movies.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I would get so engrossed into movies, and I would feel I was feeling as if I was living it. So I refused to watch horror movies because I felt like it was so real.
Yeah.
You know. But you know, kind of getting back to authentic self. Like, I was thinking about this in a minute ago, where living the dream. Let's go back to that one. I'm not being my authentic self. I kind of am. I'm sharing that I'm just like a negative person.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, I'm also like, I'm not being true to myself whenever I'm just like, everything sucks. The sky's falling.
Like so basically, this is someone who's giving a sarcastic comment, right? You're asking someone, hey, how's everything going? It's okay. Right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. Is it's again, you know, we've said this before, and I'm going to say it again into nauseam. But you know, the world doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. The only difference is choice and perception. And this is what your authentic self is narrows down. And we spoke about it today, and I want to touch on it because it was an interesting take this week, right? We talked about, you know, there's an influencer called Joey Swoll. Right, I think he does great work. He's one of my favorite guys to watch online because what he's done is he's trying to push positive gym culture, and he's calling out bullshit and negative gym culture.
He's overall good,
right? He's a good guy, and you know, and if you don't know him, it's at Joey Swoll on Instagram and basically all social media posts. But anywhere you get social media, you'll find him. But what he does is he's trying to promote positive gym culture, and in the way that he does that is, imagine a girl goes to a gym. She's barely wearing any clothes. She goes and puts a camera up, and she's literally trying to find some guy that's standing on the treadmill 20 feet away. Doesn't even look at her. He might do this and look away, right? Which we all do. And then she'll go and post him, pull his face up, and say, "What a pig! Look, no respect for me." He calls these people out because what they're doing is they're leave the people alone, right? And he's calling out this bullshit. So I think he does a great job. However, he went through a really difficult spot the last 2 weeks, right? And let me give some context. So recently, the incredible Hulk Hogan passed away. Right now, if you do know Hulk Hogan, you know, and you're in our age group, you'd realize that he was massively influential in the 80s, and was, you know, for us guys from that time, that's one of the reasons you started training, is because you see Hulk Hogan talking about going to the gym and, you know, taking your vitamins. So a very positive aspect to the guy. Fast forward 20, 30 years, and he's had a couple of scandals that have lashed out, you know, a couple of racial slurs that he popped out in inappropriate ways, you know, and again, I'm not going to apologize for what the guy did, but as a human being, we've all said shit, we all do things that we're not proud of. Yeah. I think all around,
some affairs
he wasn't a bad human being, he was just, let me just phrase it this way, he was a human being.
Yeah, of course.
And to put this in context, right, is some of the greatest and most influential people in history, if you truly go read about them, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, amazing human being, cheated on his wife, slept with a maid, had a kid, right? Horrible, terrible guy. We must cancel him, right? You know, Martin Luther King, we should take everything down about him because he beat the crap out of his wife and cheated on her. You know, Gandhi, you know, the highlight of one of the best people in the world, massive racist, right? You know, Nelson Mandela from my home country, you know, the guy was a communist terrorist. He literally planned bombing and killed more of his own people than anyone else. But what do we focus on? Do we cancel the entire idea of the person, right? Because
there was an effort for that for a little bit in the U.S. with some of the statues and
right. So you really do need to look at context, because no one's perfect. When you put, you know, they always say don't meet your heroes, right? Because you're going to be disappointed because they're human beings.
They're just like us,
right? However, what Joey did was he went and posted a Instagram post where he was in an outfit that Hulk Hogan sent him for Halloween. And he posted it, and what happened is he got 2 split comments. A whole bunch of comments were about people that were massively offended about how dare he wears this.
Yep.
You know, how dare you put these things on because, you know, he's offended us and Hulk Hogan was this terrible human being. Right. So what does he do? He takes all of this and he walks away from his most authentic self and he apologizes to those people for offending them.
Yeah.
Takes down the post. This then causes a back-end reaction of everyone on the opposite side going, hey, why would you take that post down? We're not focusing on the things he did wrong. We're focusing on, yeah, you know, we're focusing. What does that tell me? That tells me that Joey is a human being, right? He's as fallible as the rest of us, and he's going through something right now, and he has unhealed traumas that he's trying to deal with that has affected him so negatively. My take, and if he ever hears this, my advice to you would be as simple as this. No one is perfect. No one is justifying what they did wrong. The founding fathers of the United States, some of them were slave owners. They were. Right. Being a slave owner back in the 1600s is not the same as it is today. Does that override our Constitution? No.
No. Well, here, like, at what point in life do we expect that anybody that we follow or look at, whether they're movie stars, athletes, a social media influencer, as the golden standard of being perfect of a person that I follow and I look up to? Why is it that we have to make that determination? You shouldn't. So if I'll use, everybody knows Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has done all kinds of movies. Tom Cruise has done some things in his life that I'm like, whoa, dude, I don't know about that. But he entertains me.
I'm not watching him because I'm not asking Tom Cruise to give me life advice. I'm watching him because he's a good actor.
Advice from him. Yeah, and then like another example I use is like you mentioned Arnold, like The Rock. Okay, some of these big time fitness people, even Hulk Hogan, we could use him. I looked at people like that. I'm like, yeah, they entertain me. Yes. I'm interested in their entertainment a lot. I like what they put out for their product. But if I'm being real, comparing myself to, like, let's just break it down. They're all healthy, fit individuals. At least
they're great. They're great motivators. They always will be.
Their lifestyle to do their craft and what they did was not translatable to what I do in my life. So I'm not looking for their input on my actual life. I just want their entertainment. So why do I need to be upset when a guy like Joey Swoll, who's got his own brand and his own efforts that he's putting out there, just gives a video of him,
a shout out.
Yeah, it was a shout out of a guy who just passed away. Like, have we lost any kind of remorse for, like, even like Ozzy passed away recently. Ozzy did all kinds of drugs. I don't ever want to live the way that guy lived. In the end, I still liked his music. He still entertained me.
Because there's a portion of what they do that you take upon yourself, and it gives you motivation and it drives you. Arnold was a massive influence to me when I was a kid. Hulk Hogan, not as much, but that came later. But the point that we're getting at here is, in order to be your true authentic self, right, you have to be willing to understand that in order to be a free human being, and be in a country like the United States where we have that wonderful amendment that says you have the freedom of expression. That means that by expressing your freedoms, right, verbally, you will stand the chance that you may be offended or hurt by what someone says. And you have to take that on the chin like a big boy and go, okay, this is how we move forward as society. You cannot move forward if you're not willing to be offended, if you're not willing to hear alternatives.
Well, my thing is, like, I'm not perfect, right? And like being on the internet has been something I struggled with for a while. And I was like, shit, like, I don't think I have skeletons in the closet, but you don't know, right? And in the end, my view is this: like, I've evolved so much as a human where I go to this point, I'm like, whatever, I am who I am, but I've been through a lot. I've been on my own journey, and I'm not perfect. I'm a human, and shit happens. And I'm not really too worried. Like, in our audience right now isn't big enough for us to have haters, but I'm sure at some point we're gonna have them,
and they're gonna come. I'm okay with that.
And at the end of the day, I look at that and go, you could use our program, bro. Like, the haters could use our program, and it's all good. I want them to heal because there's trauma in their lives that they haven't overcome, and I want you to go through the same journey that I've been through, so that you can overcome and you can experience what we're experiencing, because it's freeing. It's
finding that the minute you stop worrying about other people's opinions, other people's versions of you, and stop trying to change who you truly are to adapt to everyone around you. You can be the best person on earth. You could be the absolute epitome of a entity that is just the best person, and you will find people that don't like you or have an issue with you. And whatever the reasons are, whether they're warranted or not warranted, it doesn't really matter. If you carry yourself on a daily basis, all right, and you are the best version of yourself, and you treat everybody in love and kindness, you can never go wrong. And I don't care what they think, because again, you can't control other people's reaction to you. All you can control is what you do. And if you carry yourself in that light consistently.
In a good example that came out this morning, like we asked the question, think of a relationship, and for our audience, think of a relationship that has blown up. It went south, like where something fell apart. And then if you're truly being honest and accountable to yourself, was it your fault?
Yeah.
Right? I think that was how I asked the question. And one of the guys in the group viewed it as like he owned his piece of it. He was accountable to himself and the friendship that had blown up. And he attempted to make the amends in his mind. He attempted to make those amends, but he took ownership of things. The other party chose not to do it. But in my eyes, and like the whole point of that conversation was about owning everything and being accountable to everything that happens.
Yes.
And sometimes you can't control what the other person is going to do.
You can honestly, you can never control what anyone else is going to do. You can't. You can just.
But you can hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I'm getting it. Is let's just say it's a daily interaction somewhere. You go through the grocery store and you're spreading kindness and love, or whatever words you want to throw in there. But you're out just being a good person. And that person chooses to give you, toxic and irresponsible. You can't do anything about that other than give kindness, right? And you just might change that person's outlook if you go, hey, it looks like you're having a bad day. I hope it gets better. Yeah,
and your authentic self, when you start putting out that energy, like you say, you take accountability for everything that you can control.
Yeah.
You don't take personally what you cannot control. In fact, you don't even worry about it because you can't control it.
Right.
And you put out that version of yourself in kindness and love consistently. What happens is that energy starts returning, and you start finding yourself surrounded with people that are either attracted to your energy for good reasons. Sometimes you'll get the ones, but you'll learn to eliminate the ones that are not really in your best interests. And you start surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals that share your energy, and now you start raising up your frequency together. You become a higher version of yourself. The whole reason for that, the whole reason we talk about your authentic self is because when you live that, when you are that, you're going to attain a level of purpose, right, where life is just good regardless, and you are always trying to. The work never ends. I saw this amazing meme. I meant to send it, but social media. You click the wrong button, all of a sudden you lose everything, right? And I remember watching like that is so on point. It's a guy with a surprised look on his face, going, "Oh, I've gotten in shape. You mean I have to maintain it?" Right? Because that's kind of it sounds, as I'm saying to it, it sounds like the most logical thing someone should get into their head, right? I'm a 45-year-old woman. I've gotten on an eating plan. My goal is to lose 20 pounds. Right? So now I've lost 20 pounds. Now what? Here's the sad truth. 80% of people hit the 20 pounds and they just go back to what they were doing before they started. Okay, so what is the reaction to the action? Let's talk about the logic.
I'll give you an example because I'm kind of going through this. I have a closet full of clothes. I'll call them fat boy clothes. That corporate suits and things that I won't wear again. Yeah. And I'm like throwing them away or donating them. Nobody wants to take clothes, it seems like, because I've tried to donate. But anyway, the reason I'm throwing them away or getting rid of them is because I know the fundamental shifts and changes that I've had in myself, that this is a lifestyle now. Yes. This isn't just a diet that I did. This isn't just I lost some weight. But how many people would go, I'm going to keep that just in case.
This is who I am.
Yeah, it's become who I am. Yeah. It's completely shifted, right? And what happens with people, I'm going to hang out of those clothes just in case. Well, you're already doomed for failure.
You're setting yourself up for failure. Because And this is the mindset shift. This is the authentic self, right? Because we believe that being our most authentic self, because in order to do that, you have to tune out the world, right? You have to tune out the noise, because there's always this noise from the world, whether it be other people's opinions, expectations from people on you, societal expectations. They're always resonant and kind of hitting you from a side, right? When you block them out and you are your version, and as I said, always in kindness and love, and you put that out there and you block those out, there's a level of discipline that comes with it. And I think this is the one that people fail really to grasp. We have this idea that when we attain these things, so I've gotten into shape physically, right? Or I've got my eating under control. I've managed to hit a certain level of spirituality, mindset, all these things, right? And we hit it and we go, okay, cool, I'm done, we're good. No. Now, I always tell people maintenance is way harder than getting to where you want to be. Once you're there, now you have to balance this and you have to keep it going.
Right.
And that takes effort and work. But what I can tell you is, it's not like it's any less work than to eat shitty and feel shitty, right? That also takes work. It takes energy. Choose your hard. Yeah. Choose your hard.
Totally.
Which one would you like to make? Which one am I going to take on top of myself? Because I want the hard that, I put some suffering in, but my long-term gains are high. There was, last point on this is, there was I read people comparing the death as it happened in the same week between Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan, right? And the comparison was, one died at 76, one died at 71. And the one guy's comment was, hey, you might as well just drink and take drugs like Ozzy Osbourne, because, Hulk Hogan died anyway. Guys, I'm going to say this again in nauseam. It's not about living as long as you can. It's about how do you live. And for all Hulk Hogan's faults, he was in tremendous shape. He went to the gym every day. He was super healthy up until a couple of weeks before his death.
I think he had a heart attack.
Right? He had a heart attack, but he had other health issues that were affecting him. In the biggest scheme of things is, we don't do anything we do. And I applaud to everyone. You do not know what the future holds. Your destiny is unwritten. You write it in every moment you're in. That's why you make the most of the present, because you don't know what's going to happen. Any one of us could have the same fate tomorrow, 5 minutes from now. The point being is, at the moment before that happens, how did I live and how am I living? How do I feel? How do I engage? Do I have any regrets? Do I look back and go, oh my God, I should have checked? No. If you are being the best version of yourself,
that's true,
in love and kindness in every moment, there is no such thing as a regret, because you're being the best version of yourself. What else is there? That is purpose.
And I think living in the moment is such a big piece of it. Having gratitude is a big piece of this. We talk about this endlessly if you have listened to our prior episodes. And like, go back to your point about like, well, how did I live? Right. And you think about, I was at Publix, maybe, I don't remember where I was at, and I seen a couple I was walking across, and it was maybe in their 70s, I don't know, but the guy was having a real hard time walking, like really. Good for him, he was still trying to walk, and you don't know what he's been through, right?
Yes.
I mean, kind of medical stuff, any of that, right? And I'm not judging at all, but I just find myself looking at that person versus the one in my neighborhood that's probably similar in age, that's up and moving every single day, looks amazing, taking his dog out. The guy still cuts his grass. I've seen him up on his roof before. I'm like, dude, be careful. But why be careful, right? He's
living his life.
He's living his life
to the highest degree.
Like, you look at the two, and I go, well, I don't know what that guy's doing. And what the key difference in that guy was, he's never stopped moving.
Yeah.
And he's like you said, you choose your hard. Which one is it? And who knows? Like, Hulk Hogan died at 71 versus Ozzy at 76. Well, they're both pretty good runs. You can say whatever you want about the case for either side.
I don't think there's a comparison on any way, shape, or form on either one.
No, not those two. But like, I'm just saying, you can say whatever you want to say, compare it if you want to. I view it as, I know how I'm living right now. Yes. I know how I feel right now. I choose what I'm doing. Because to me, even if I walk out of here and get ran over by a semi, I know that I did everything I could to be healthy, fit, and I was active.
I was being my true, authentic self in every moment that I possibly could, through every struggle I had.
Yeah.
And the point of this is, the reason you do all the work, the reason we always talk about really applying yourself into health and fitness, applying yourself into mental health, applying yourself into purpose, applying yourself into spirituality, trying to create that abundance mindset. Why do we talk about this? Because all of those are tools, right, that you constantly work on to create this version of yourself that is always evolving, always moving, always going, and always in balance. And the minute that you achieve the balance, and again, the balance, it does this, things are going to happen in life you cannot control. But as long as you're doing those things consistently and you're being that version of yourself, what else is there? Honestly, and I'm asking the question now, is if anyone in the comments wants to answer me, what else is there? Tell me what is a higher calling for a human being in any way, shape, or form than to be that. I was listening to a podcast that John Cena, Tampa local, right? He did a podcast, I think last year, right? And very insightful guy. I've met him twice, super nice human being. And what he said was, he was explaining how he perceived himself, right? So when he was doing pro wrestling, I'm John Cena, the wrestler, right? He transitions into acting. I'm John Cena, the actor, right? And he came to the realization that he's just John Cena, right? He's one man of, his exact words is, I'm a grain of sand on a beach. All I want to be is the best grain of sand I can be. What else is there? Please, if anyone in the comment, tell me what is more prudent in life than to just be the best version of yourself, be the change you want to see in the world.
I feel like that takes, for some of us, it takes a lot of life to figure that out. Because we're in this pursuit of greatness, because especially boys. I think I've said this in past episodes. My son has this thing on his wall. In the bottom, it's like 10 things that he wants to achieve. And I forget all. One of the bottom was like, have big dreams. Something like that, right? Every little boy has big dreams. And you set out to achieve these things. Like, I remember leaving college, telling my college baseball coach, I'm going to go be a millionaire. I'm going to do it in like 5 years. And of course that didn't happen. But I'm like, you set out thinking like you're different. We all think, at least I did. I'm different. I'm not like everybody else. I'm going to go pursue greatness. I'm going to be great, and I'm going to show you. We talked about it earlier in our men's group, in our morning session, the wow factor. We chased the wow factor, or the wow effect. That's what it was. We chased the wow effect. And then we realized one day, well, I got this title, I got this money or this position or achieved whatever I achieved. And then I realized,
now what?
This was not what I was looking for. I know, and that was for me a corporate job. Like,
I think everybody's had that. At some degree. Look, I'll lay it out this way, right? Is you say every little boy has a dream, every man has a dream. I still have big dreams now. I've never stopped dreaming about what I can try and attain. It's just the only difference now is the dream is just a thing that I am pursuing while I maintain this thing which gives me fulfillment and purpose. And
you said before we flipped the recording on, like, think big.
Always.
So we need to think bigger than we're currently thinking.
Yeah, like I've always been a big advocate is you don't aim for the sky, you aim for the moon beyond. Like you aim for the universe, because you don't really know what you can achieve. If you it's a limiting belief. If you say all I will ever be is this, that's all you will ever be.
I love analogies. I was thinking of The Road to Perdition. Did you ever see that with Tom Hanks? They're going out robbing banks, and the little boy's the getaway driver for his dad going in to rob the banks. It was the Al Capone money he was taking, and they're having dinner at a restaurant. The little boy looks, the dad I think asked him, so all this, they're out there stealing all kinds of money.
Yeah,
and he looks at his son and he goes, so what's your take on this? Like, how much do you want? And the kid kind of sits there, and I'm maybe misquoting the movie, but he sits there and he goes, $200? And he's like, done. And he sits there for a second thinking he got this great deal, and then he goes, what? How could I have had more? And Dad's response is, you'll never know.
Yep.
Because he thought he was
you
thinking
limited
big.
yourself. It's that's a great analogy, because I love having conversations with people on this. Is how much are you worth, right?
Yeah.
And this is a business. I'm switching this. It's still got to do with what we're talking about, but when you sit down and speak to people, right? And I like having this conversation, especially with business people, entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out what they should charge for products, how much money they should be investing, how much money they should be bringing into their business. And I like asking this question: is how much do you think you are worth? And I always get like, what do you mean? Like, okay, let me break it down for you. How much is an hour of your time worth? And they'll sit and think, and they'll, sometimes, and basically everyone always narrows down to whatever they think they should be earning an hour. So they always flip back to an employee mindset. Always.
I feel I'm worth $1,500 an hour, but I'm not in a position to charge that right now.
Yeah, but if you actually had to break down, right? So interesting. So we're going to do this to Kevin now. So note how I'm using the words, right? So Kevin is worth $1,500 an hour, right? So now he's not going to answer these questions. I know the answer to these questions. If I had to calculate the physical amount of time that you've put in to work to get it, the physical amount of time. I'm not talking about going home and thinking about it, driving the car. The actual amount of time that you have actually worked on it. And then I take what your net worth is per year, and then I calculate back to your hourly rate. I guarantee you it's going to be $1,500.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right, I guarantee you it'll be, because that number, it's bigger than what you say it is. It's actually probably already there. Because we don't perceive it that way, because you get paid as a guy who does mortgages, you get paid in a bulk sum after 3 or 4 months of work. But if you actually took the actual amount of time that you spent on that deal physically, I'm not talking about thinking about it, going home, actually. Right.
I mean, if I'm being real, like, I'm not even equating it to the mortgage reason that I'm really there, but based on my experience, work history, things I've accomplished, in my mind, and what I've assessed myself to be worth, I should be charging to consult at minimum $250 an hour. Okay. I actually feel that I'm worth $1,500 an hour.
There you go. Right. So here's the kicker on that. You are worth as much as you think you're worth. The trick is to find someone who's willing to pay it.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, that's just it.
And that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens is, the reason we have the limiting belief, right, and we hold ourselves back, is because we only believe, well, that's what I'm worth. And if you put your worth down, if you come to me and say, I'm worth $35 an hour, you're never going to earn more than $35 an hour.
That's right.
What you have to do is,
you're going to get $35 an hour customer.
You have to think in what Kevin said is, listen, he had a couple of times, he's like, yeah, I should charge $250 an hour, but I should charge $1,500. But you know what? If at a certain level I can charge, he knows his worth, but he's thinking about, who do I actually sell this to, and who's the person? Because that's the hard part, is finding the person to buy your product, right? Yeah. But realistically, is you could be worth $1 million an hour.
Absolutely.
If someone's willing, until you and you will be worth it when you find the person willing to pay, that's what you're worth.
Well, here, I'll give you the playbook for $1 million business. Executing it's a very different story, but the playbook for $1 million business is get one customer to pay you $1 million. Mm-hmm. That's it. 100.
And I think the other side to it is, make 1,000 cold calls, make $1,000, $1 million. Yeah. Now, it sounds stupid. Oh, no, it won't. Yes, it will.
Or let's break it even. 1 million customers paying you $1 is $1 million in revenue.
There's so many ways you slice this up.
And you have to identify what the execution model looks like on that. But, like, in the end, like, I kind of like where you're going with the business aspect of this, where we get in our own way. And let's use you're going to go buy a car. And it's changed a lot now, because now, like, everything's online, so it's really changed how you, like, buy cars. But let's just say, for the sake of it, that you didn't have all this online world.
Yeah.
And you're going to buy, let's use an old school car that's not listed online all over the place. And you have this car that you want to buy. Okay. And let's say it's like a 1970s Chevelle. I know just a little bit about those, not a lot. Mm-hmm. But let's say it's worth $75,000. Okay.
Yeah.
And you are trying to buy this. This is actually a real example. But I have a friend, his wife bought him this car as a Marine Corps retirement. And it was an amazing gift. But she had been saving. But let's use the example to say, I want this car for this special gift for this special person in my life. And let's just say that car's listed for $75,000. Yeah. Okay. And she comes in and says, I'll offer you $50,000. And I actually don't know what they paid for it, but I just know it was a very valuable car. And I offer you $50,000. And the guy says, no way, hard limit $75,000. But you don't actually know what he's willing to part ways with it on. Yeah. But he also doesn't know what you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, so you're trying to find that middle ground.
They're finding that middle ground, but the reality is, like, I think people sell themselves short sometimes. All the time, because what is that worth, right? That's the perfect car. There is no dollar amount.
Yeah.
That seller may not know what her dollar amount actually was, right? Because it was a gift. It was a big gift, right? So in that case, yeah, she did have a top dollar, but again, you don't know. So if I come in there and I'm like, well, I gotta get this car, it's finally the one, and I offer you full list price, well, you didn't know that guy would have sold it to you for 50, you know. So it's a game in a sense.
And the game, that's a good analogy because you're playing that game with yourself. How much are you worth? Right. You're worth as much as you are willing to put the work in to find the person that's willing to pay what you believe you're worth. Yeah. That's because there's no limitation.
That's right.
There is no limitation.
And they're out there. That person is out there. That customer is out there. It's a matter of like, somebody also said to me too, you know, if you sell yourself short, well, those are the problems you're going to be dealing with. You're going to, let's say you say I'm only worth $35 an hour. Well, those are the kind of customers that you attract. Those are the kind of customers that you're going to get. And they're going to be picking and choosing over $35 an hour.
Well, I've heard interesting introspects in this because what stops the average guy from being a millionaire? Right. What stops him?
Themselves.
Themselves. Why?
They don't think large enough, and they get in their way, and they try to do everything themselves.
All true. And the simplest way I can put this is the reason most people aren't millionaires is because when you narrow it down, you're not willing to put in the time and effort, right? Because I've heard many people in very physical jobs go, I work really hard, I should be a millionaire. Yeah, but you're working hard in one aspect.
Yeah.
In order to attain these numbers, and again, it's not about the money, I'm just throwing a number out there. What you have to do is you have to apply yourself. In order to apply yourself, it's not just the physical hard work. It's the mental strain, the time and effort, change of environment. There's so many things that come into this. Most people aren't willing to put in the time and effort. They're not. I'm being straightforward here. Most people are not willing to put in the time and effort to simply be in shape, let alone try and earn $1 million. Right?
We could use this podcast for that example. You know, we started the podcast in the end of December.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in July. We haven't even reached our first full year. How many people give up after, like, I think you said 5 episodes?
5 episodes, your max, right?
Yeah, so, like, I never expected us to boom right out of the gate. No. But we're getting some great momentum and some traction. And I'm not going to sit here and start celebrating these online successes and wins that are out there because it doesn't mean anything.
It's not why we did it.
Exactly. It's not why we did it.
It doesn't mean anything. And this is again your true authentic self, right? Your true authentic self needs no one else's approval. Doesn't need anyone else to tell you what you can or can't do. It takes information holistically and listens to try and figure out what works best for you. Accountability is what creates the true individual, that person who's that true version of themselves, is the one who takes accountability for everything they hear, everything they see, how they talk, what they do, how they carry themselves. Because once you attain, and yes, I don't think the work never ends. So I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you that, oh, once you attain it, you're going to have this, you're going to grow angel's wings and fly somewhere. No, you're going to keep working at it. Yes. And sometimes you're going to fall down. Then it's about how quick you get back up. Sometimes you're gonna want to quit, right? You're gonna want to quit a lot, and then the real challenge is, what do? Do you keep going? It's you apply. When we talk in our podcast about all the different aspects, right? And we're testament to this because we're consistently working on this every day. You constantly, daily apply them, and I apply them. I take in as much as I can on the good days, so that I can apply them the most on the bad days. Yes. On those days when I want to quit, those days where I want to throw the towels, those days where I want to just let my anger get the better of me, those days where I just want to turn into that person that I don't like, that worst version of myself. I do all this work consistently so that when I find that day, I have the tools in my arsenal going, nope, this is what I do. That's how I do it. Let's take next steps.
Absolutely.
This is what we're trying to get out there. This is what we mean about being your true authentic self. Your true authentic self is not the guy who's working the day and go, well, at 3 o'clock I'm going to go have a beer. I can't wait to get the beer. Why is that a fundamental for you? Just the fact that is a fundamental for you is a massive problem.
Yes.
Right. You are not. If you live for the weekends, you have a problem.
Yes.
Right? Weekends are weekends. There are 2 days of the week. Come on, man. We have 7 days in the week. You have 365 days in a year. It makes no difference what days. Every day's the same.
I have heard that. You make a really good point about that. I live for the weekend. I have heard that so much growing up, where like, I do what I do so I can enjoy my weekends. I live my life for the weekend. Friday can't get here fast enough, and then boom, it's Sunday. Well, I used to dread Monday mornings. Like for me, Sundays were always. I've always tried to treat Sundays like a day of rest. Yep. Okay, and it's It's actually not really faith driven on that. It's just something I've always liked. However, it does happen to be similar to faith.
Well,
but
our world works that way, right? Let's not beat around the bush. Our world, regardless of what your faith is, most people work Monday to Friday. There's some countries that work Monday to Thursday, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is more of the day at the end of the work week. Saturday is the days that everybody's out. Sundays are the days everyone's at home. It does. It's not. This is not a religious thing. It's just kind of the way that everything ticks over.
But I mean, if I'm being honest though, like I don't not work though. I'm still doing stuff, whether it be for the house or for home stuff, sometimes business related. But my whole point is like I would almost be, and when especially I was in the corporate world, I used to have a Monday morning meeting at 8 a.m. with my boss that I hated, man, and I dreaded it so much, and I would just be stressed out. I'm almost getting like acid reflux thinking about it because it would stress me out so much. And Sundays around our house were misery for everyone because
that day it's ticking off, right?
Yeah,
it's almost like a time bomb. It's ticking. I remember
brutal.
You go to bed. Right, because the day kind of because you're so dreading the start of the week, right? Which you should never dread, but anyway,
which I did.
And a lot of people, you're dreading. Oh, Monday again! Here comes Monday. And what happens is Sunday becomes this trying to make the most of every second, and then you count every second. And all of a sudden, you open your eyes. It's 6, 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. You're getting ready to kind of start winding down. You're, oh my God, what do we do? Because you're living that day. You're living in a future that doesn't exist yet. Yeah. Right. It goes down to the fundamentals we always talk about, being the present. And I've found, like, and I'm not going to try and tell everybody that it doesn't work this way. Yes, work for me primarily happens between Monday and Friday. It's the same for most people because it's when businesses are open and things
I work
run.
Saturday mornings sometimes, but for
sometimes
the most part,
on the weekend. But realistically, is yes, weekends are what weekends are for most people. It's when most things shut down, businesses aren't open, people are out, people are about. That's fine, right? However, a Monday and a Sunday and a Saturday and a Thursday and a thing make no difference to me. They're a day. Right? Same. Who I am on that day doesn't change. How I apply myself on those days doesn't change. The things I apply myself to might change, but who I am, right? I don't live for a weekend. I just live in the best version. Sure. And this is the real point we're making. We don't want to be you. If you are always putting stock into what may come, whether it be I'm waiting for Friday, right? I'm waiting to have that drink at 3. Then what you're doing is you're living in a future that doesn't exist, and you're not living your life right now because you're waiting for an outcome.
Well, but to me, like when I'm like those, man, I had a rough week, I'm gonna go have a beer. Well, why? Like, what are you masking? Like, I in the end, I understand like stressors in life and business come up, things happen. And in my eyes, that's where it goes back to health and fitness helps you go through life when you have adversity, right? Yeah. And like the system this morning that we were talking about, where I think is it Sylvester Stallone, one of his movies, I think it's Creed or something, where he's like, it's not about how you, I forget how he says it exactly, but it's about how hard you can get hit and still get back up, basically.
That's one of the Rocky movies.
Is it Rocky? I can't remember if it was Creed or Rocky, but anyway, I love that because it's true. Like, life is gonna throw things at you.
It's gonna knock you down.
It's gonna knock you down, and this isn't about, like you said this morning. It isn't about when days are good. Easy days are like good. Days are easy.
They're called easy for a reason.
Yeah, like that's not what this is about.
No,
this is about when you get punched in the mouth by an event or something, and you have a process, if you will, or you're already living a lifestyle that helps you handle it in stride. That's what this is about.
Where you don't change who you are, your most authentic self through wind, rain, storm. It doesn't matter. You're the U.S. Postal Service in this regard, right? You are your most authentic self through everything, and the reason you have the tools around you is so that you can practice and put that in perspective.
Yeah,
you know, we talk about. I have no problem. If you want to, if one of your peeves is you go have a beer and it makes you feel better, man, go ahead. But what advice I would give you, right, is, if you can, right, try and change a negative response to a positive response. And let me explain what I mean. There's nothing wrong with drinking a beer, right? It's all good.
I like beer.
There's nothing wrong with beer. It tastes delicious. It's a great thing, right? But what if you could get that same reaction? Because let's talk about the physical side. You go have a beer, let's say you have a couple of beers, right? What benefit does it give you other than the cold taste in your mouth and the immediate gratification, maybe being a little bit drunk afterwards, which has its own detriment? It gives you nothing.
Yeah.
What if we could change that around to maybe going to play pickleball with your wife, or go do something fun with your wife or your kids. What if we could change that feeling into getting around into a community of men and having a workout? What if we could change that beer to going to the gym and getting out? Because now your outcome, you're still trying to replace, it's a stress management system. I get that, right? And there's a whole different levels where you need to get past that. It's not you're replacing, but at least your outcome is different.
Dude, a perfect example is yesterday. We were in here in the morning, and we were kind of busy with some stuff. We're like, hey, let's have a rest day. We're due for one. We've been training hard for 5-6 weeks, haven't really rested. Let's take a rest day. Cool. Go do some stuff, whatever. I honestly didn't want to come back to the office to do some work, and I was like, hey, buddy, you want to hit an arm workout?
Yeah.
You're like, matter of fact, I do. And the example is to say, how many dudes would be like, hey, want to go have a beer?
Yeah.
We chose to hit some dumbbells.
Yeah.
Like, way better.
That choose your outcome is based on your choices.
Yeah.
Your choices that you make.
I have an example. You were talking earlier of the calm in the storm, basically, is what's in my head, right? Where I have an old boss that I used to talk about when chaos in business happens, the leader has to be the one that's running the steady ship, right? He's got to be calm. And I remember I really learned this. The veteran community has a good experience with this.
Yeah.
But I saw it firsthand play out in front of me when I was in basic training. There's something they call the shark attack. So when you get there, you're on these buses. They pick you up so you go to basic training. At least this is how the Army worked. I'm sure all branches are similar. You got to reception area, which was actually, in my opinion, worse than basic training itself. And drill sergeants are up your ass for every little thing. You breathed the wrong way in reception. They were breaking you down already.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of crazy, to be honest. So they pick you up from reception in a bus, and you have your gear. It's on your back and on your chest. And you get in the bus, and you sit down, and they tell you to put your head down. And you get on this bus ride, and of course people are trying to figure out where you're going. You can't really tell because there's so many guys on the bus. And then when you get there, you all of a sudden start hearing, like, you're sitting there waiting, and you're hearing screaming and yelling going on. And you can't quite tell what it is. And then all of a sudden you hear a drill sergeant jump, like pounding on the bus, jumps in the bus and screaming, "Get the fuck off my bus." And so all of a sudden, one by one in front of you, they're getting up, running out of the bus. And then you get out, and it's like pure chaos. And they're directing you to a place. They call this the shark attack. They're directing you to get up into a formation. You have your bag on your back, your stuff. Of course, people are dropping stuff, some stronger than the others. Things everywhere. And it is just insane asylum for you, right? It's like your brain can't function almost because there's literally every drill sergeant they can possibly get that's available comes to help with this event, right? Yeah. And their whole purpose of what they're doing is they're lining you up, and then they're making you put all your bags in the front in a certain way. And until you get it right, they're screaming and yelling at you until you get it right. Yeah. And so you just think it's just pure chaos. It takes an hour.
But there's a purpose.
Well, we do it. And then on the back side of this, so I was a security hold. Yeah. So I had to stay behind while the rest of my basic training unit went ahead to their classes. They were waiting on my clearance to come through. That's a whole another story. Basically, my paperwork got left on somebody's desk, and I had to wait another cycle. But what I got to do is see a whole new cycle of basic training from a viewpoint. Yeah. So I got to see that same shark attack from the outside perspective.
It's very different.
It was organized. Chaos.
Super organized.
Completely and totally controlled. Completely and totally organized. Yeah. And you saw it, and you went, holy shit, they created an environment of chaos for us to teach us how to think in chaos. Yes. It wasn't actually chaos. It was actually very controlled. It was very rehearsed.
Good training.
Really good training. But you saw it firsthand from a different lens to realize you have to slow down and think in the midst of the storms.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what they're doing. And that example of basic training, what they're doing is they're building you to have fundamentals to be a good soldier. Yeah. Well, this is the same thing. We're trying to teach you how to be good at life.
Yeah, be a good
We're
man.
sharing our experiences and showing you that the chaos is all around you if you let it.
And,
let it happen.
And the chaos is going to happen regardless of you want. Yeah. It's you make sense of it, and how. And in that is, so how do you make sense of it? One, slow down. Absolutely. And listen to your gut. Don't let your emotions take over. Focus. Absolutely. This is, again, we're building tools, and we're giving you a toolbox that you apply daily. You never stop applying. Yeah. But I promise you, when the things get bad, when life knocks you down, it's going to give you the ability to just pop right back up.
Absolutely.
This is what we're building. This is what the whole concept is. You pop straight back up, you get back into it, we're back on track. And in doing this, you're going to find as you fundamentally change and you become that version of yourself that you really want to be, that true, authentic self, that person who lives in love and kindness, that lives in the moment, you'll notice that everyone around you starts going, something's changing. And you'll start noticing people look at you in a different way. People talk to you differently. People treat you differently. You start finding people out of the blue that, you have an interaction. These people are trying to get time with you. Right? Because they feel that there's an energy coming in. Because when you are in your true, authentic self, right? When you let go of limiting beliefs, you're just really in yourself and you're being the best version you can be, the energy you give off is palpable. You can feel it, right? And people react to it, and you start seeing it. The more you do it, life just gets really better around you. Right? It doesn't mean life doesn't have its ups and downs. That happens to all of us. It's not like you live in this world of bliss, but it feels like bliss regardless of what's happening because of how you conduct yourself, because you've hit this pinnacle. And that's the important part, that you really want to be your true, authentic self, right? Don't be a version that you think other people want to see, that you think society wants to see. And always do it. And I'm an epitome in love and kindness. You're not there to judge others. You're not there to hurt others. You're not better than anybody. You're not over and above anybody. You are you. You are only accountable to you. And once you take that accountability, oh man, life becomes beautiful. Yeah,
I agree with you. I mean, I think those are really good thoughts to leave it there on this episode. I don't even know if I would add anything to that, because I think that's just a great way to live in the world with true love and kindness, and it's going to return good favor to you for that.
Agreed. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.